Daniel Sports Central, big over a college football game preview and prediction on the big matchup coming up here in week 11 of this 2021 college football season. And it'll be over the Texas A&M Aggies and the Ole Miss Rebels. Crucial matchup for both these teams heading into week 11. Certainly going to have some big New Year's Six Bowl implications, and overall just a big showdown coming up this weekend in the SEC West. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Texas A&M in their last game beat Auburn, 13th ranked team in the nation at the time. 20-3 was the final score there. So overall, just a solid performance by the Aggies, beating Auburn, which Auburn, they're a very talented football team. So, I mean, they got a good offense, and Texas A&M only allowed 3 points to them. So the Aggies, this is a team that is on fire heading into this matchup. Ever since they beat Alabama a few weeks ago, I mean, this Texas A&M team has been one of the best teams in the nation. I mean, they've dominated every one of their 4 games that they've played since the beginning of October. In their last loss, of course, to Mississippi State, which was on October 2nd. But once again, since then, Texas A&M has been a very improved football team, and they've been, once again, on a roll ever since then. As for Ole Miss, they beat Liberty 27-14, being the final score there. Overall, solid win. Liberty is not a terrible football team, so do not sleep on that matchup. That was overall a solid win for Ole Miss, and they're 7-2 heading into this matchup. Texas A&M has a 4-game winning streak heading into this game, and of course, Ole Miss has a 1-game winning streak. They lost to Auburn on October 30th. So obviously, you got Texas A&M who just beat Auburn 20-3, but Ole Miss lost to them 31-20 back on October 30th. So definitely something to consider there. Game will be on Saturday, November 13th in Oxford, Mississippi. So Ole Miss is the home team for this matchup. I believe College Game Day is at this game as well. So this is a huge matchup this weekend. I'd say probably the biggest matchup. And the AP rankings for both these teams right now, Texas A&M is number 11. Ole Miss is number 12. Obviously, that will likely be different when the college football playoff rankings come out on Tuesday night. But for right now, yeah, Texas A&M is number 11. Ole Miss is number 12. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Spread currently has Texas A&M by 2.5. So Aggies are favored on the road here, but it is certainly going to be a close spread as expected. Over-under is 55.5. FPI is going Ole Miss 55.3%. So one of those rare occasions where the spread and the FPI do disagree with each other. Ole Miss is favored 55% on the FPI, and Texas A&M is favored by the spread as of right now. Series history, A&M leads at 9-1. So Texas A&M, although it hasn't been too long of a history between these two teams, Texas A&M does lead it 9-1. Win streak is A&M by 3. Last time Ole Miss won in this matchup was 2016. So 5 years ago was the last time that Ole Miss was able to knock off the Aggies. Here's your stat comparison for this matchup. Texas A&M, of course, has 28 points per game, 14 points allowed. So Texas A&M has played a lot more close, lower scoring games this season. But overall, I mean, their offense has been much improved in the past few weeks, and anyone can tell you that if you look at their stats especially. I mean, this was a football team that kind of struggled at the beginning of the season offensively. Like, if you look at their, I mean, they only put up 10 points on Colorado back in week 2. And I mean, overall, yeah, they put up 10 points against Arkansas, 22 points against Mississippi State. But once again, ever since that Mississippi State loss, I don't know what got into this football team, but they've been on fire. They beat Alabama. And ever since then, I mean, they beat Missouri 35-14, beat South Carolina 44-14. And obviously, they beat Auburn last week by 17. So, I mean, this is a very good football team here with Texas A&M, and I'd say that they're definitely the best 2-loss team in the country as of right now. 14 points allowed, so obviously, defensively, this team has been pretty good this season as well. 206 pass yards a game, 191 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 194 passing, and then 123 for rushing. As for Ole Miss, 37 points per game. So obviously, I mean, the offensive side of the ball has been what really has gotten Ole Miss to a pretty good season. I mean, Matt Corral in general is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. Statistically, he's one of the most accurate. And also his touchdown interception ratio has been outstanding so far this season. He does not commit too many turnovers, and he's an experienced quarterback, which has been huge for Ole Miss. Defensively, they allowed 27 points per game, so potentially that's part of the reason why this game could be expected to be more of a moderate to a higher scoring game. You got Ole Miss, which scores a lot of points, which Texas A&M, I mean, this team usually doesn't score too many points, but recently Texas A&M has been scoring more than normal, with about an average of roughly 35 points in the past 4 games especially. But yeah, for Ole Miss, 286 pass yards a game, 237 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 237 passing, 194 for rushing. Recent matchups for each of these teams. Texas A&M, of course, once again, 4 wins straight, beat Auburn beat South Carolina, Missouri by significant margins, then beat Alabama 41-38, which to this point is still the upset of the season. I mean, Texas A&M was unranked at the time. That broke a lot of streaks in that game. I mean, for Alabama, I mean, of course, Alabama hadn't lost to an unranked team in a long time. And, I mean, that was just in general a huge win for the Aggies, and that's been really, I think, the big turning point in the season so far for the Aggies. But for Ole Miss, of course, beating Liberty 27-14, lost to Auburn 20-31, beat LSU 31-17. That was a good win. Beat Tennessee on the road. That was a wild game, 31-26. And they also beat Arkansas 52-51. That was quite a game. Still remember that one. It was a shootout from start to finish. Some key points here. Obviously, both teams are 7-2. Texas A&M, they've been on fire since beating Alabama. And quite honestly, I mean, Texas A&M is a football team that is on their way to a New Year's Six bowl game if they keep this up. I mean, they are on fire once again right now. They've played excellent in the past few weeks, and that certainly is being taken into account when predicting who's going to win this game. Texas A&M continues to only get better. New Year's Six bowl is certainly within reach for the Aggies, but Ole Miss is certainly able to make it to a New Year's Six bowl game as well. I mean, you got Matt Corral, who's an outstanding quarterback, and he's been having an outstanding season. And I mean, yeah, so there's a lot at stake here in this matchup between Texas A&M and Ole Miss, and obviously it's a big SEC West matchup between both these teams. Ole Miss does have the home field advantage as well, so obviously this is a tough one to predict here. You got Texas A&M, who does have more momentum heading into this game, but at the same time, Ole Miss has the home field advantage, and I mean, both teams are coming off of decent wins as well. So, yeah, certainly very intriguing matchup coming up here in Week 11. Let's get to the prediction here for Texas A&M and Ole Miss. I'm going to go Aggies here, 30-28 being my predicted final score. It's going to be a close game. I'm going 51% for Texas A&M, one of those rare occasions where I put a 51% on the line. This is basically a coin toss. Both teams could easily win this matchup, but I'm going to go with momentum here. I think Texas A&M, they're on fire right now once again. They've got several big wins over the past few weeks for Texas A&M, and yeah, so 30-20 is my predicted final score. I think the Aggies, it's going to be a close game, one of the better games of the SEC season, and win probability once again is 51% towards Texas A&M. Over/under for this game is 55.5. I am taking the over by a couple of points for this game. Ole Miss, though, will cover. The spread is currently 2.5. That certainly could change because this is being recorded pretty early in the week, so the spread could easily change, but for right now, the spread is Texas A&M by 2.5, so I'm having Ole Miss cover right now. But obviously, could easily go either way, and this is definitely a tough game to bet on because, I mean, once again, this is a tough one to predict. You got two very good football teams, two very equally skilled football teams, and you got one team that's definitely improving right now, and one team that has got a very experienced quarterback. And yeah, so very interesting matchup coming up here in Week 11. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comments below on this game, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you later.